All right. Chris,
Mr. Kupperberg?
Mr. Kupperberg.
Chris wasn't there.
Okay, so Dave, you're gonna see the clock come up. And we're gonna cut it at 2 minutes,
Okay,
okay? And thank you for being here and your patience and all that good stuff.
well,
When you see the clock start, you can speak. It's just ready to record, right?
Yep.
Okay.
thanks to Governor Hochul, the MTA is taking a step in the correct direction of looking at itself to find efficiencies without having to sacrifice service or the capital program. The MTA has proved to the public that it would not be able to handle the influx of riders to the Long Island Railroad, Metro North Railroad, and the subway, bus, and express bus networks. In fact, the Queens Bus Network redesign proposed final plan released December 2023 assumes that there is no central business district tolling program. Therefore, the governor did the right thing and is forcing the MTA board to pause implementation of the central business district tolling program, at least until the MTA could prove that it is ready. Thank you, Governor Hochul, for making the MTA use common sense. The next step is to repeal the MTA Reform and Traffic Mobility Act and instead toll East River bridges to the point where they would be at parity to the MTA bridges and tunnels. My name is David Kupferberg, Vice President of Bus Advocacy, Passengers United. Thank you. Power to the people.
Thank you, David. Have a great day. Mr. Morales, you're up. You're gonna talk straight to the camera. We're gonna cut you off for 2 minutes. Thank you for your patience today.
Okay, can I just have a second, like settle in for a sec?
Yeah, they gotta go get my next group.
Oh,
So it's recording.
yeah, this is,
It's a lot today. I
tell
understand.
me when,
It's ready for you. So when
Yeah,
you're
just
ready.
start
it's for
counting
you.
down when you're ready.
all right, so I'll begin. So I kind of want to adjust the elephant in the room, congestion pricing. I know the board really supports this and is doing their best. My best advice is to just do what we can. We know why congestion pricing is opposed, why the governor's paused it. Let's continue to reduce crime in the subway system like we have. Let's continue to increase bus speeds. We just implemented ACE on many buses, and we're working on the Hillside Avenue bus lanes, which is up hundreds of thousands of riders in the outer boroughs and Nassau County. These projects will help make it easier for congestion pricing to get through once the governor decides that we could re-explore it. I also want to discuss the LIRR procurement. As I said to the LIRR Metro North Committee yesterday, I'm glad the MTA is investing in the new rail vacuum technology. That'll really benefit capital projects efficiency and productivity with or without congestion pricing, as that could also be used for state of good repair work. However, I feel like negotiations could continue to ensure that adequate cybersecurity measures are taken, and we could also consider finding additional bidders so that MTA and its riders, what's it called? These companies are responding to our needs, even doing less visible but critical work. Also, the bus info screen contracts. Before we offer these 13-year contracts to Clever and Vianora, we must make sure that they are accountable for the maintenance, have stringent maintenance standards, and that they're held accountable for any deficiencies. I'm on Bronx buses often. I rode the 12 bus today. I see info screens often are either broken or not in full service. This needs to be considered when giving them 2-year options. Lastly, I want to talk about the 62nd Road substation project. I noticed that a lot of electrical work is including that involving transformers. As mishaps can occur, I had a power outage due to a transformer in my neighborhood for a week. The MTA should hold these contractors accountable to help avoid liabilities. And given the importance of these often unseen projects, community trust is key. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Have a nice day.
You too.
All right. All right. So next up, we're going to take Mr. Hunt. And thank you all again for your patience. Oh, you need the next one. Sorry. So you're just going to talk at the computer. As soon as you start talking, he's going to hit the clock. When it hits 00, it's going to stop recording.
Great.
But all of this gets packaged up and given to the board.
Yep. If
Okay.
I'm done before 2 minutes, should I just give a thumbs up or something?
You can just go.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Cool. Hi, my name's Liam Hunt. I live in Brooklyn, New York, 11238. Yeah, I just want to voice my support of congestion pricing. I hope it happens. I hope it happens soon. I know these things are really difficult. I am really grateful to all of the elected and appointed public officials and public servants who work so hard to, make the city run. So yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you. Awesome. Mr. Coos, Seth? All right, come on over. Got it. I put this on now. Thank you. So you're just gonna talk at the computer, they'll hit the clock as soon as you're started, you'll have 2 minutes.
Okay.
Okay?
Kathy keeps on talking about the unintended consequences of not implementing congestion pricing. I want to talk about the unintended consequences of not implementing congestion pricing. Kathy claims to be standing up for the little man or the hardworking low-income resident that needs to drive into Manhattan. Yet 98% of low-income New Yorkers don't drive into the central business district to work. What about the unintended consequences for those low-income people? What about the unintended consequences of less access to fair fares, which should have aimed to be expanded? 85% of commuters into the central business district overall do not drive. What about the unintended consequences of no new signals and no new train cars, less maintenance work, and less reliability overall? Look at what's happened to NJT in the past week. If we don't want it to happen to the MTA, we need to fund it now. The real economy killer is going to be the decline of the transit system that carries the majority of New Yorkers to work every day. What about the unintended consequences to disabled New Yorkers who won't get new elevators and subway stations and will have to deal with more elevator and escalator shutdowns with less money for maintenance? What about the unintended consequences of congestion costing the city $20 billion a year in lost productivity? What about the unintended consequences to small businesses which get less foot traffic due to unpleasant congested streets? What about the unintended consequences to the quality of life of people who live or work in the zone? What about the unintended consequences to the entire future generation, which will have to deal with our emissions and our great contribution to climate change? I want to strongly urge the MTA board to use whatever power you have to say no to the pause on congestion pricing, which is needed now more than ever as the climate crisis gets more and more real. We need congestion pricing on June 30th and cannot afford any further delays economically or environmentally.
Thank you. Next up, Dana. Then Mackenzie. Great, 2 minutes. You can just talk right at the computer. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dana Friedman and I live in the Central Business District. I am so upset by Governor Hochul's pause on congestion pricing. I am a regular everyday New Yorker who relies on the MTA, subways and buses to get to work as my job requires me to travel to multiple sites in Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, and Manhattan throughout various times of the day. This law was years in the making, passed and signed on by lawmakers at the local, state, and federal level. It has thousands of pages of environmental review. I think it's important to remember that you will hear the MTA already voted in favor of this and held hours of public testimony already, in which there were tens of thousands of comments, and these were overwhelmingly positive from everyday New Yorkers like me who were in support of this law as it was written and passed. So this feels like deja vu. I think it's important to remember that enacting congestion pricing is actually the law, and by not implementing it, Governor Hochul is demonstrating a massive abuse of power, which is something as citizens that we should be incredibly wary of, especially since she seems to be basing her decision off of vibes and nothing empirical or data-driven. In fact, a report released yesterday has New York City at the top of their list for congestion. Lastly, I want to add that we finally have the opportunity as a city to do something extraordinary and think big and finally move beyond the status quo and benefit not only the 85% of people who commute via mass transit to the central business district, but also the millions of people who will benefit from this environmental impact. The economic vitality of Manhattan is not dependent on a diner patron from New Jersey, but rather from the millions of people like me who rely on mass transit for our daily commutes. I am here speaking because I feel powerless. And as the MTA board, you are supposed to be looking out for people like me, one of the millions of your daily riders. I am here to speak for all of the regular hardworking MTA riders I see on the subway every single day, just trying to do their best to get to and from work. I urge you in the strongest sense possible to do whatever is in your power to enact congestion pricing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice day. Next up, we've got Mackenzie, followed by Jonathan Novak. Great. Okay, so yeah, just gonna look at it. Our colleague will start the clock. You have 2 minutes. Thank you for being here and for your patience.
Hi, my name is Mackenzie Fillo and I live in Brooklyn. I'm here today to ask you to do whatever you can to implement congestion pricing as soon as possible. I live by the entrance to the Brooklyn Bridge and my windowsills are constantly covered in black dust from the car's exhaust, and I am bombarded by unnecessary honking, engine revving, and other car-related noise all day long. I was desperately looking forward to the reduction in pollution and noise that congestion pricing is expected to bring. Congestion pricing is that rare public policy that is truly win-win-win. It will fund transit upgrades and accessibility improvements, make our streets safer, quieter, and cooler, reduce pollution and asthma, and even help drivers get where they're going faster. It won't solve all our problems, but it can make a big dent in a bunch of them. I know the governor appointed a lot of you and she might retaliate against you if you try to move forward, but be heroes. Let's find a way to get this done. It's the law. Thank you.
Thank you. Jonathan Novak, followed by Yuzu. Okay.
Yeah, usually that.
Okay. And then-
Hello, my name is Jonathan Novak and I live in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. I'd like to speak about how implementing congestion pricing and fully funding the MTA's improvement plans would positively impact the quality of life of my mom, Elizabeth, who's physically disabled and also lives near me in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. The benefits of the congestion pricing plan affect my mom twofold. In the local sense, one of her nearest train stations, 18th Avenue on the D line, was slated for accessibility improvements under the proposed plan, which Kathy Hochul has now put on ice indefinitely. My mom is nearly legally blind and suffers from arthritis. Her closest train stations are elevated up nearly 4 flights of stairs. Navigating up and down these stairs is a major challenge and a significant danger for her, but she pushes through because the freedom that public transit offers us is central to our lives. I know she's not the only one facing this challenge. I see countless young families and older neighborhood residents carrying strollers and shopping carts up and down these same stairs every day. If the board aligns with Governor Hochul's last-ditch effort to kill congestion pricing, it is unclear whether these improvements will happen within my mom's lifetime, if at all. My mom, accompanied by me, travels into the city frequently as well. Navigating the sidewalks of Manhattan is hard enough with multiple disabilities, but crossing the overly congested and aggressively driven streets can be a life or death gamble for people like her who can't move as fast as impatient and heavily delayed drivers demand her to. Reducing congestion below 60th Street would be a major benefit for New Yorkers like my mom, who deserve safe and open access to the city they've called home for the majority of their lives. I urge you to consider the needs of the most vulnerable New Yorkers like my mom and proceed with the popularly and legally mandated congestion pricing plan, and to reject the blatant political maneuvering by Governor Hochul that overlooks these pressing needs in favor of drivers both in and out of state. Deferred maintenance and tug-of-war fights over funding for the MTA have gone on for far too long, and the lifeblood of New York City, its transit system, has suffered for far too long because of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Roxy? Great. And then Bill? Awesome. So yeah, you can just start talking as soon as you're ready. Thank you. And you have 2 minutes. Thank you. That's a long time to wait.
No worries. My name is Roxy Schwecke. I am a Brooklyn resident in Flatbush, right off the Brighton line, and I'm here today to share how disappointed I am that congestion pricing has been indefinitely paused by Governor Hochul. While I have had a strong love-hate relationship with our transit system, it is obvious to me that the MTA has been making efforts to improve that system and ease rider inconveniences. Bus lines that were sporadic now run more regularly. CBTC systems have been installed on several lines, and technological upgrades are present in almost every station. Despite these efforts, the train system is still clearly in dire need of repairs and improvements. For 3 years now, I've lived off the queue, and every few months, with little to no notice, swaths of the line will be shut down for entire weekends, sometimes all the way from 96th Street to Prospect Park. A normal trip to New Jersey to visit my family already takes me 3 hours, and when the queue is shut down in this manner, it can add 30 minutes to my already excruciatingly long trip. I was extremely excited and hopeful that congestion pricing would help the MTA expedite these kinds of repairs. And now with the program indefinitely paused, I am worried about how the MTA will continue to make improvements and serve the riders of the city with efficacy and respect. I'm remaining hopeful that you all as members of the MTA board will do all you can to ensure that congestion pricing goes through. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Bill? I kind of feel like it's time for it.
Hello, my name is Bill Cryer and I'm a resident of Inwood in Upper Manhattan. I live there with my wife and 2 young children. About a week and a half ago, we visited extended family on the Upper West Side. On the way home, my 4-year-old fell asleep in her stroller, and we had to carry her stroller, her baby brother, the diaper bag, downstairs to get to the subway and up more stairs to switch trains. We're fortunate that we're physically able to do that. I can only imagine how difficult it is for people with physical disabilities. We need elevators throughout the system. As a commuter, I need signal upgrades to reduce delays, which make me late to work. As someone who works near the Holland Tunnel, I need less honking, less air pollution, and less cars blocking the crosswalk. Just yesterday afternoon, I recorded a video of an ambulance with sirens blaring stuck in absolute gridlock on Varick Street. When I lived in New Jersey and took the bus into the city, I would get stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic on the New Jersey Turnpike and in the Lincoln Tunnel. I grew up in Josh Gottheimer's district, by the way. My late father-in-law was a firm believer in public transit who took the bus to work every weekday from Bergen County, New Jersey. New Jersey bus commuters deserve better commutes too. Governor Hochul has put all of these needs at risk on a whim in the very last days of the legislative session. She did not bother to think of any good alternatives, no alternative source of funding, no reforms, nothing. Our needs do not matter to her. I urge the MTA to do everything in its power to enact congestion pricing and for the governor to perform her ministerial duties. If New York goes through another summer of hell, the governor will be clearly to blame. She still has a chance to turn this around. Thank you.
Thank you. Valerie? Valerie, do you spell your name with a W?
A W? No.
Okay, I think we have a typo here. Would you just spell your first name for me?
B-A-L-E-R-I-E.
Great.
That was probably me online.
That's
No, I
okay.
gotta type.
We use the sheet for the record and most people don't spell
Appreciate
Valerie
that.
with a W.
Well, yeah,
Um,
thank you for asking.
absolutely. Feel free to start whenever you're ready. You have
Okay.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Will I be able to see that? or-
Yes.
Okay,
The
great.
clock will come up.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good morning. I'm Valerie Mason. I'm one of the co-founders of New Yorkers Against Congestion Pricing Tax. I'm here in that capacity and that capacity alone as I serve on several other organizations. And I'm speaking for myself and New Yorkers Against Congestion Pricing Tax. I've attended every single one of the Mobility Review Board meetings and every single public hearing on this topic. I want to thank the governor for her leadership, for listening to all of the people who have come to the previous hearing speaking against congestion pricing and the effect that it would have on their lives, whether they drive a car or not. I do not drive a car. I have a license, but do not drive. I just want to say a couple of things. There are a number of alternative sources of funding for the $15 billion, more stable sources of revenue that the MTA can rely on. I've looked at their most recent financial performance report, and it is abysmal. And congestion pricing is not the save-all. It's not the one thing that is going to fix all of the MTA's problems. I believe in the governor. I believe that she knows where she can get this money, and that the $15 billion can be bonded by other more stable revenue sources. One neighborhood shouldn't be disserviced by the rest. This is an unfair tax. I also want to point out that the congestion pricing surcharge, which was supposed to bring in $300 million a year, is budgeted for $150 million this year, and none of that has gone to the capital plan. I urge the governor to continue the pause, and we are happy to meet with everyone involved, the governor, the MTA. We have 25 solutions for alternative revenue sources. And I urge them to look at Joe Loda's opinion piece today in the newspaper, which discusses alternative sources of revenue. He was the former chair here, and I think he knows how this place runs. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Our next speaker is Lindsay Brents. Great. Take a seat. We'll start the clock as soon as you start talking. You have 2 minutes.
Hello, my name is Lindsay Brents. I am a resident of Brooklyn. I live off of the Nostrand Avenue stop on the A line. I have lived here for 3 years, and we desperately need these upgrades that the congestion pricing plan was supposed to fund, particularly an elevator. It is very difficult for a lot of the elderly and a lot of the families with young children that I see every time I take the A to bring their their objects, their children, anything they're bringing with them up and down those stairs. So we really, really, really needed this funding to do these these accessibility upgrades. I also wanted to talk a little bit about my most memorable trip on the New York subway, which happened a number of years before I moved to the city. After I had spent a year living abroad, I lived in the south of China in the city of Shenzhen, where I had access to the Shenzhen Metro, the Hong Kong Metro, and I vacationed frequently in Japan and taking the Tokyo and Kyoto metros. At that time, I'd forgotten what the metro was like in the United States, and I expected elevators and escalators and cooling in every station that I went to. And when I came to New York with my very heavy suitcase, expecting the same accessibility, I was shocked at how inaccessible the entire system was.
So I really feel strongly that we must have congestion pricing in order to create the accessibility updates that were promised and that New York City sorely needs as a matter not just of convenience and accessibility for its residents, but also as a matter of city pride and even national pride, because this might be the best subway in the United States, but it is very, very poor compared to the rest of the world. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Next up, we have either Muhid or Lake. Lake, okay, great. Muhid is left. Lake, go ahead.
I think they said it.
Thank you. Whenever you're ready.
Oh, okay. My name is Leaf Connie Bear. I'm a resident of the financial district. I actually live a few blocks away from where this is being recorded. I'm sure anybody who commutes into anywhere in this neighborhood, particularly this building, this area right by Broadway, has seen just how terrible the traffic can get. It can be so congested that you can see in the summertime the haze in the air from the exhaust and the fumes. And when I run errands on a daily basis, I tend to try and avoid that street because I have to cover my nose. It gets so overwhelming. So more than anything else, congestion pricing would solve the congestion problem in the neighborhood, which is what I struggle with the most. The congestion, there's no room to park, so people park on the sidewalk. And that in itself is an accessibility problem that could be severely mitigated with congestion pricing or improved with congestion pricing. And the noise pollution that cars bring as well. There's New York Presbyterian Hospital is straight down the block on Gold Street. And I live on Fulton Street, and I just hear that siren blaring for minutes on end when it gets stuck behind gridlock traffic on Fulton Street from cars from the FDR Drive, from the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel, from the West Side Highway. It's just, the traffic in this neighborhood is ridiculous, and that is I think, one of the most important problems that congestion pricing can solve, beyond just the improvements to the subway system and the funding that would bring towards that end. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next up will be Iris Kelly. Iris, just take a seat, start talking, and we'll start the clock. You have 2 minutes.
Kathy Hochul needs to take it off pause, because once he's putting on pause, he's putting denial for people getting into the subways. And also means can you get people go where they gotta go and put more revenue into the city. You're not gonna be able to do that by putting no elevators in there. You need more help with congestion pricing, because this is the only way. They're breaking rules already about the law for ADA, and also for just being able to get in. It's like some people out there who need to get into the subways, and it's the only way by getting this money, capital money put in for the ADA people that have not only disability people, but also people like wheelchairs and baby carriages, people doing road delivery packaging. Everything you can think of is relied on these elevators. And you don't have them, you can't do what we gotta do to help the city. But just take it off pause and get it started. That's what you really need to do. And put yourself in our shoes, Kathy Hochul. See what it's like to be without having able to get into a subway. What about the girl who had baby carriage, who fell down the stairs, had no elevator? That's disgraceful, Wake up and smell the coffee. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Salamanca. And then it'll be Scott after that, yeah? Okay. Thank you. You will start with your testimony in 2 minutes.
Dear esteemed members of the MTA board, thank you MTA Chair Janelle Lieber and board for your time. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm the CUNY University Student Senate two-time elect chairperson, Salima Tudumbuya. Myself and student leaders from across the 25 CUNY campuses represent approximately 250,000 students. I also serve as a voting member of the CUNY Board of Trustees and as a trustee in the Higher Education Services Corporation. I'm also the student government president at the New York City College of Technology. CUNY is the City University of New York, is the nation's largest urban public university, a transformative engine of social mobility that is a crucial component of the lifeblood of New York City. CUNY today has 7 community colleges, 11 senior colleges, and 7 graduate or professional institutions that are spread across all the 5 boroughs, serving the 250,000 students at the university. More than 80% of the university's graduate stay in New York. The student population is approximately 76% students of color coming from working class and middle class families. The University Student Senate of the City University of New York was founded in 1972 with the mission of preserving the accessibility, affordability, and excellence of higher education. This year, our main priority is to further equity in transportation. USS CUNY has created the Student Commuter Pilot Program, which resulted from extensive research on challenges faced by students in CUNY that should be integrated into a holistic, long-term solution. We identified equity, access, and affordability in higher education as the main important thing for CUNY students. The students at CUNY have goals to graduate, and challenges such as non-tuition costs impact this goal. Students have identified the cost of transportation as a top barrier in accessing education, and we would like to propose this commuter program. CUNY students are willing to partner to find the best solutions for public-private partnerships that will help further this goal. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Kirby. All right.
Is there a timer on the screen?
Yeah, it'll come up as soon as we
Okay,
start
cool.
talking. Are you okay? Yep, and you'll have 2 minutes.
Great.
When you're ready.
Okay. Hi, my name is Kirby Kersels. I live on the Upper East Side, and I'm here today as a member of Families for Safe Streets. Families for Safe Streets is a club that no one else should have to join, and yet month by month, our membership steadily increases. This vehicular carnage cannot be allowed to continue. Today, you, the members of the MTA board, have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to actually do something about something substantial about the traffic violence that plagues the streets of this city. When London instituted congestion pricing all the way back in 2003, vehicle crashes fell by as much as 40%. 40%. Let that sink in. A reduction of this magnitude is unheard of in street safety circles. Congestion pricing means more birthdays, more graduations, more first dates, and more weddings. It is an enduring disgrace that the pedestrians and cyclists of New York City cannot set out from their homes each morning without putting their lives in the hands of overcrowded streets and distracted drivers. The status quo is unacceptable. Congestion pricing's effect on New York would be transformative. It is the necessary first step towards a safer city for everyone. I will end my remarks by asking you all to look into your hearts and do what you know is right, and to start congestion pricing as promised on June 30th. I know that defying your boss probably seems a little scary, but take courage in the fact that the citizens of this great city are standing right there next to you. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Next we'll have Austin.
We had that a lot of dirty, but
Just one
I
moment.
could get out.
Is there anything I can do? No. All right, Austin, when you start talking, the clock will come up. You have 2 minutes.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Austin Celestin. I am an Upper West Sider, and I am an urban planning student at New York University School of Public Service. It's ironic that I'm giving this testimony on the 14-year anniversary of the budget cuts from 2010. And the MTA did that to save face after the recession broke camel's back and gave them no other option. And look at where we are now. Sure, the other things happened to result in the summer of hell, but that was one of the key dominoes. That's part of the reason why congestion pricing is so critical, and we've seen what happens when the MTA has to roll back on funds. You know then more than anyone else know the disaster HOPE was created, cancel contracts on the Second Avenue subway, the IBX legally required ADA upgrades, critical signal upgrades, and more. HOPE has also potentially butchered the MTA's credit rating, weakening your borrowing power, threw away billions in federal grants, and continues to sacrifice hundreds of thousands of jobs and tens of billions in economic revenue. But there could be more side effects. We don't know what's down the road. We do not have any contingency plans in place with or without congestion pricing. What happens if another superstorm Sandy or Ida comes around and cripples the MTA in ways that we cannot come back from? And any alternative to funding will do absolutely nothing to address the issues of vehicular congestion in the region. Congestion that has already exceeded pre-pandemic levels and is continuing to worsen thanks to New Jersey and NJ Transit instituting fare hikes that will likely discourage residents from taking public transit into the region. The MTA has a fiduciary responsibility to make sure the MTA is funded, and make no mistake, there are no alternatives. Legislators came out and openly admitted it last week, saying that there was no alternative plan. So we need to make sure that the cameras are turned on for the sake of the region, the sake of the MTA, for the sake of the economy, and for the sake of climate in the region. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken? So Ken, whenever you're set, you can just start talking. The clock will come up. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you for wearing the mask.
Thank you. When you're ready.
My name is Ken Coughlin. I am a board member of Streets PAC, a political action committee dedicated to electing public officials who are committed to livable streets and a better transit system. Right now, this city is stuck in a vicious cycle. More and more cars and trucks on our streets, mass transit starved for adequate funds, leading to poorer service, leading to more people driving, leading to even worse service, and on and on. Congestion pricing will get us out of this downward spiral and into a virtuous circle, fewer cars, billions more for transit, leading to better service, leading to more people shifting from cars to transit. After the MTA obtained all the necessary approvals and made plans to start the tolling program on June 30th, congestion pricing entered and had to cross the valley of political death. For the survival of our city and to do our part for the survival of our planet as we know it, you, the MTA board, must ensure that congestion pricing makes it out of the valley and brings us to the promised land of less traffic, first-class transit, cleaner air, and safer streets. Thank you.
Okay. Jeffrey? Great, you're next. Take a seat. You can start as soon as you're ready. You'll have 2 minutes.
Good morning. I'm Jeffrey. I'm Jeffrey Moy. I'm a constituent from the Lower East Side, and I currently am studying urban planning at Cornell University. And I just wanted to say, as a constituent, that I'm extremely disappointed in the governor's actions as of late, and that specifically, I believe that right now there is a serious lack of accountability going on all levels of the state government. I believe that the governor should not, and does not have the authority to unilaterally cancel this program. And I believe that anyone that believes so is either willfully or unwillfully abetting her. And I believe that the MTA must do everything it can to move forward with this program, or at the very least signal that there is a responsibility and there's a clear intent here to move forward with this program, regardless of what the governor herself might say. And additionally, I feel that as a constituent, that my voice is not being heard, and that what is currently going on with the MTA and with the governor is, simply speaking, it's irresponsible. It's a dereliction of duty. And I believe that they are ignoring the will of the thousands, the millions of riders on the MTA in favor of a few well-off collected people that do not represent the interests of the state. And as a young voter who has a lot to lose from this, I would say that I feel like our elected officials need to, pay more attention to, what people in the future are going to have, what these decisions, the impact that these decisions have right now will harm people like me more than the people making those decisions right now. And I think that the MTA should take that in mind, and I hope that other people in the state in charge of making these decisions do too as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Paul? Yeah. Come on. Step right up.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you all for your patience. Well, as soon as you're ready, you can start talking. The clock will come up for 2 minutes.
Great.
Sorry.
All right, hello, my name is Paul Powell. I live in Brooklyn, been there since 2015, and living in Kensington right now. And I came here to speak in favor of the congestion pricing plan, and for maintaining its planned start date of June 30th. I regularly drive in and through Manhattan for work, and I'd be one of the folks that would be paying this toll. But I believe that it'd be worth it. The reduction in traffic means that I could more reliably get to my client sites on time, and get back to my family at a more reasonable hour. I also have many situations at work where I am taking the subway to see clients in Manhattan. When I'm visiting them, I'm carrying 50 pounds of equipment with me. And so I'm not disabled, but I would also benefit greatly from the more accessible subway stations that are planned to be funded with the congestion pricing money. Also, I want to see more accessible stations for the sake of my father, who has recently become a wheelchair user and who deserves to have access to our great city. This congestion pricing plan would significantly improve my quality of life as both a car and subway commuter. And in my opinion, it would be well worth the cost of the tolls I'd pay. It will also make our city a more accessible place for both able-bodied and disabled people. We should not have to tolerate the governor's last-minute about-face on this matter. She pulled the rug from under our feet, and I encourage you to be brave enough to pull it back. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew? No,
Edward.
Edward, sorry, I misunderstood my colleague's notes. Come on up, Edward. You're next.
Thank you.
A lot of people have left, so we just want to make sure.
Yeah.
So, as soon as you're ready to talk at my computer, it's gonna give you a 2-minute clock. Well, this young gentleman.
Hi, my name is Eddie Siegel. I live in Nolita. I'm a transit rider, biker, and pedestrian, and I'm a community board member speaking in my personal capacity. I urge the MTA board not to endorse the governor's illegal power grab and ensure millions of New Yorkers have access to cleaner air, safer streets, and faster and more reliable transit. The board's fiduciary duty compels it to push congestion pricing forward amidst this haphazard cancellation proposal, which not a single person from the governor on down has proposed even a possible way to backfill the $15 billion in funding needed for transit improvements. This is not a proposed pause, it is a proposed cancellation. Otherwise, the governor would have given conditions, a timeline, or the barest of outlines of an alternative plan. Instead, it seems like she will be relying on opinion polls of New Jersey diner customers to decide when it should start. Lastly, I want to remind the board that this is almost certainly illegal. Like obstinate red state county clerks who refused and then were forced to sign same-sex marriage licenses, the governor cannot withhold signature from a duly passed law. You should vote with your conscience, stand with New Yorkers, and compel the MTA to implement congestion pricing. Thank you.
No worries, so good. Thank you all for your work. You know?
So, 2 minutes. It's gonna be a clock. I'm gonna have to step away for 1 second.
Hi, my name is Juno. I live in the Upper East Side and I also go to school in the Upper East Side. The last time I talked to you, I was going through my senior year of high school and now I've just graduated. And let me tell you, I can't even count the hours that me and my classmates have lost. Hours of learning, really, due to the MTA having just bad service in general. Everyone has some sort of like 7-train disaster story or has been stuck on the F train, and all that time really adds up. Due to constant delays, 12-year-old me was up at 6:30 every morning just to go to school. And I was one of the lucky ones because I had the Q train and I had the 2nd Avenue subway. A lot of my classmates in the Queens and the Bronx didn't even get any MTA coverage, which led to almost 2-hour commutes. What we want to be doing here is prioritizing the education of students, which means we have to let them choose which high school is best for them, not just whichever high school you can get to within 20 minutes, which honestly is not that many if you live in the outer boroughs. And if congestion pricing doesn't pass, the next generation of students who deserve better won't get better. And I really oppose that. So that's why I completely support congestion pricing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Nicole. It'll start the clock as soon as you're ready, or the clock will start as soon as you start speaking. I'm sorry.
I'm ready. All right. My name is Nicole. We all remember Cuomo's MTA. We all remember the summer of hell, but let's not forget when Mario Cuomo ended the practice of the state chipping in 15 to 20% of the capital program, of the MTA's capital program, and left it all to general appropriations. The result since then is ever since the MTA's resiliency is left to political games and horse trading, and this fiasco is no exception. But this isn't a game. This is millions of trips. This is the climate. This is thousands of jobs and billions of dollars. This is the future of the whole region. For heretofore inscrutable reasons, a few suburban election seats, her constituents in New Jersey, billions of dollars of resiliency programs, accessibility upgrades, and even new stations are, let's be honest, effectively canceled. Kathy Hochul, you canceled these programs. That will be your legacy. Every late train, every flooded station, every broken elevator, that will be yours. You have no plan, you have no spine, you have no right to throw the future of the MTA and our climate and our region away. And don't let a single legislator, especially not one riding the free Staten Island ferry, try and tell you that they would have a discussion about congestion pricing if we had higher fare box recovery. They're lying. We could have 100% recovery and they'd still be spewing the same lies. Show me what they have ever done for transit riders or the climate or to reduce traffic or to shore up the governance of the MTA. As the speaker, John Orcott, said, do not let the legislator get away with her bungle by scraping together new taxes either. Kathy Hochul has no plan, no analysis, and no heart. Hold her accountable and flip the switch.
Thank you, Nicole. Kate? As soon as you're ready, you can start talking. There'll be a 2-minute clock. Give it to me.
My name is Kate Brockwell, and I'm sick of calling for the only way to reduce congestion, reduce traffic crashes, reduce pollution, and meet the MTA's legal obligation to finally make more stations ADA accessible. There are complex debates to have about what upgrades are prioritized, but implementing congestion pricing is the only option. I was at CB3 till 9 p.m. last night arguing about the governor instead of strategizing about how to get the people of the Lower East Side a promise of fast crosstown buses and that the Delancey Essex elevator will be among the first built. It's been brutal in the last 3 weeks to hear the conversation focus on funding. It is only through reduced traffic that we will realize the transformative safety gains congestion pricing promises. Riders need the money, but we need safer streets and cleaner air desperately. Presumably taxpayers pay the governor's electric bill during AC season, but millions of us are sweltering, trying to conserve AC use to reduce our Con Ed bills. Our climate requires the courage to act now. I was hit by a car in 2017 as a pedestrian when the driver failed to yield, making a left turn, crashing into my leg with a 4,000-pound sedan, and causing serious knee, leg, and wrist injuries and PTSD. When London implemented congestion pricing, fatal car crashes dropped by 27% in the zone, and crash rates dropped outside the zone too. A more recent study found that crashes have now dropped by 46%. In my humble opinion, it will be even more transformative here. Experts systematically underestimate how many crashes involve speed and fail to understand how traffic emotionally dysregulates people, even those who don't escalate to road rage with a firearm. But I also know how profoundly just one injury changed my life and those of people who care about me. And when I think about FSS members I've gotten to know who lost someone, the street renamings, the vigils, the marches I've attended with them, or the notes I write when they have to mark their loved one's birthday or Mother's Day without them. Every child lost leaves devastated parents and siblings, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, friends, classmates, teachers, coaches, neighbors whose groceries they carried, coworkers, roommates.
Tom? Yeah. Great. As soon as you're ready, you can just start. And the clock will come up for 2 minutes.
Okay.
I just lost myself.
Hello, my name is Tom Maher. I'm a Fort Greene resident and loyal AC rider. I'm excited for congestion pricing. I'm excited to walk across Flatbush Ave on the way to J Street without gridlock. I'm excited for cleaner air and safer streets because I have asthma and it's awful to dodge drivers when you're crossing the street. And again, I'm excited for congestion pricing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, Kimber? Kyber, great. If you could just state your name for the record. And then you'll have 2 minutes for your testimony. Thank you for your patience.
Hi, I'm Kyber Sen. I'm also a member of the Effective Transit Alliance, and I'm here today and I want to urge the MTA board to vote no to pause the implementation of congestion pricing. I understand that there's federal law that prevents the MTA from implementing it actually until the state dot signs the VPPP. But you shouldn't bail out the governor for unlawfully pausing it. I also wanted to argue against some of the points people against congestion pricing made today, that traffic and pollution would be worse in the outer boroughs. The latest environmental assessment found that even outside of the CBD, pollution would be down 1% throughout the whole area, and traffic as well. And in other cities, like Stockholm, asthma rates were cut in half, 50% decrease. I have asthma. I've been wheezing the last few weeks because the smog and ozone has been so bad. And we have an opportunity to cut that in half, and we're not going to do that. That's absurd. Yeah, I hope you do the right thing, and I thank you for all your work to try to get this. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up, Marco. Great. Take a seat, state your name for the record. You'll have 2 minutes to speak. And thank you for your patience.
Yes, my name is Marco Hemken. I'm a resident of the Fort Greene area. I, like most New Yorkers, do not own a car. I arrived here at the MTA office building on the C line and the R line, and one of the trains was one of the new walk-through subway cars, and that was incredible. That was amazing. Means a lot to me. It is absurd that motorists can choose to sacrifice my health for their convenience. They make that choice every time they drive into the CBD. Congestion pricing is a major step in correcting that injustice. Congestion pricing is the law. Please implement congestion pricing as required by law. Thank you.
All right. Julie? Great. Come take a seat. You'll have 2 minutes.
Start now.
Yeah.
My name is Julie Swoop. I'm a member of New York City DSA and an MTA rider. I want to start thanking the MTA staff for all of their work. I'm sorry that our embarrassment of a governor has put everyone in this position. I want to urge the MTA board to implement congestion pricing as planned. As many other speakers have pointed out today, the state of accessibility on transit in New York City is shameful. We live in the richest city in the world, and 75% of our subway stations lack elevators. It's an insult to disabled residents. It's an insult to elderly people, and it's an insult to parents of young children. Despite misinformation from the opponents, including the governor, people that own cars in New York City are much more wealthy than transit riders. It's true in New York. It's true in every American city. There's a reason for that. Cars are incredibly expensive to own and maintain. It is an insult to the working people of New York City and New York State that Governor Hochul's decision to cancel congestion pricing will result in slower buses and slower trains that we rely on. Lastly, the governor is a climate change denier. There is no way to achieve anything close to the necessary greenhouse emissions goals necessary for our survival without much higher use of mass transit. Kathy Hochul does not care about climate change, and I encourage the board to do what they can to invest in a bright future for all of us by implementing congestion pricing as planned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, y'all.
Mitchell? All right, come on up. You probably heard me, but name for the record, and then you'll have 2 minutes.
Sure. My name is Mitchell White. Good morning. I'm a bus and subway rider, and I live in West Harlem. When I found out that Governor Hochul was pausing congestion pricing, I was gutted. Like many of the other speakers that are here today, I lived through the summer of hell in 2017. At the time, I was living near the end of the 2 and 5 train in Flatbush, Brooklyn. If everything was running smoothly, the commute was supposed to take 45 minutes. That summer, though, it was too common for my commute to take an hour and a half. There were days when I was left standing on a sweltering platform because my train was being taken out of service. Days when my train was stuck in the tunnel between Manhattan and Brooklyn because of signal problems. Days when passengers spilled out from the station and onto the street because the delays were so disruptive. I remember frantic mornings of running to the Q train 20 minutes away and texting my boss that I had no idea when I would make it to the office. I remember late evenings waiting for trains that never came and requesting Ubers that I couldn't afford. I joined Riders Alliance and fought for congestion pricing because I thought no one should experience a summer like that ever again. In fact, I imagined a future where trains ran faster, more frequently, and more reliably. A future where we not only fix the subway, but actually expand it. That future is well within our grasp today. Governor Hochul may no longer share that vision of the future, but I know that all members of the MTA board do, and I implore all of them to do the courageous thing and reject the pause on congestion pricing today. Thank you.
Thank you. William? Excuse me. Sorry. Look at the camera.
All right.
I'm sorry, the computer. The clock will come up, say, as soon as you start talking, and just state your name for the record.
Sure.
I have to get a drink, but you can go.
No problem.
Is that okay?
Yes, hi, my name is Will Kitcher. I'm a lifelong New York City resident, fourth generation here in New York City. I'm here to show my support for congestion pricing and to let you guys know that I hope that you're watching this video to celebrate the vote for congestion pricing and that we are passing forward with it. Living in Flatbush and South Brooklyn now. I've grown up most of my life I've spent all my life living in Brooklyn, third generation. My father used to tell me a story from his grandfather where they used to take they used to take the buses from Red Hook to Gerritsen Beach, and it took about 45 minutes for them to travel there when they were growing up. You know, my dad's about to turn 80, so that was 60 some years ago, where they were able to travel around Brooklyn by public transportation easily and quickly. So you know, I think about that for my future and for like the future with my children, that, you know, this will be beneficial for them. I think about the ADA accessibility stations that are going to be cut out from this, so that my father, who is getting progressively older every year, obviously like everyone, doesn't have easy access to the subway anymore. No way to take an elevator up and down the stations in Southern Brooklyn. Any expansions to these areas are getting cut off or defunded. So I'm hoping that you're watching this video to celebrate the passing of congestion pricing and that you fought back against what's needed, these changes. So we need congestion pricing, we need the ADA accessibility, we need the tens of thousands of jobs that are coming along with it. We need the upgraded signal upgrades, we need to expand public transit, we need to expand the bus systems, we need electrical buses, we need the air quality improvements. All of these things are going to affect the public health of New Yorkers, and please have passed congestion pricing.
Thank you, and thank you for working with my disruption.
No problem.
Have a great day. Theodore? All right. You state your name for the record? You'll have 2 minutes.
Theodore Fragianos.
Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. And my name is Theo. I'm a CUNY graduate and future urban planning student, and I would like to thank everyone here at the board for inviting me to speak. Let's be clear. Giving the downtown of America's biggest city relief from congestion and pollution is a project that has been in the works since the Lindsay administration attempted it in the 1970s, and to argue that it is any less necessary half a century later is absurd. Governor Hochul's undemocratic ploy to kibosh congestion pricing was a betrayal of voters across the tri-state area. Not only that, but it is in fact unpopular. A recent statewide Siena poll found minority support for her decision, with only 38% support among women, 37% support among Black New Yorkers, 31% among young people, and 32% among lower-income New Yorkers. None of us are convinced by the shameless misinformation promoted by a tiny minority of affluent car commuters who work in the Central Business District. Working-class New Yorkers will now have the luxury of sitting on a bus stuck in a massive traffic jam, staring out the window at expensive toll cameras that are now completely useless, wondering when they will finally be able to ride the Interborough Express or take the Q to East Harlem. If we wanted to prove that we are, in the words of transit researcher Alon Levy, the city that can't in the state that can't, I could not have imagined a better way than canceling congestion pricing. Thank you.
Thank you. No set. Thank you, Laura. All right. Have a seat. Clock will start as soon as you're ready, as you're speaking, and if you can state your name for the record.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
And I'm just trying not to keep coughing through the testimony.
I mean, you must be like so dehydrated. from
A little
talking,
bit.
like running around.
When you're ready.
Okay. My name is Laura Waxman, and I'm the communications manager for Tri-State Transportation Campaign and a native Brooklynite. New York State Governor Kathy Hochul's pause on congestion pricing is the wrong move for New York. The decision to pause this crucial program sets our city back decades. It slows down progress on making our city's air cleaner and our streets less congested. Congestion pricing was expected to reduce traffic by 17%, which would bring cleaner air to breathe and safer streets to move about. It would also mean that our city's buses, the slowest in the country, could transport riders faster and more reliably. The money from this plan would go towards major improvements like adding elevators in almost all subway stations and building new train lines to make commuting easier for folks all over, especially those in East Harlem and the Bronx. Plus, it will fund more reliable train service, like getting anywhere on time, and zero emission buses in disadvantaged communities across New York City that need these investments most. Pausing this not only delays all the much needed benefits, but also puts us behind other cities looking to reduce traffic and pollution. We need to be leaders in fighting climate change and making transportation fair for everyone, not stepping back when things get tough. That's not in the true spirit of New York. The MTA has everything it needs to put congestion pricing into place: the legal approval, the hardware, the federal support. We just need to decide to move forward. So we're urging Governor Hochul to immediately reconsider congestion pricing. We can't miss our chance to make New York a healthier and more accessible place to live. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Hello, Devon? Have a seat. As soon as you're ready, you can start. The clock will give you 2 minutes. Please start with your name for the record. You okay?
Yeah, fine. My name is Javon Blackshear. And I think perhaps this current governor believes in ghosts. She believes in the ghost of Robert Moses. And me personally, I don't believe in ghosts. It's not rational to believe in ghosts. So I think Governor Hochul is just not being rational. The rational decision is to have congestion pricing. That's all I have to say.
Thank you for your time. Jeffrey? Great. Have a seat. As soon as you're ready, you can start. Please state your name for the record and you'll have 2 minutes.
Jeffrey Thomas.
Well,
Hi, I'm Jeffrey Thomas. I'm a resident of Brooklyn. I think you all know the merits of congestion pricing. I think you can see I'm one of the people specifically impacted by environmental effects, air pollution, et cetera. So I'm just going to say one thing. The state has approved congestion pricing. The law that they passed says there shall be, not might be, not could be, not if the government feels like it, there shall be a congestion pricing program. You do not need the governor to actually do anything to implement something that she has no choice in doing. So I urge the MTA board to work with your federal partners, make it clear that Hochul's signature is not actually needed, that an indefinite pause, or as one of the people who testified earlier today said, a permanent pause, whatever a permanent pause might be, that is a euphemism for not following the law. It is not within the governor's power. We know people are gearing up for lawsuits. As a taxpayer in New York City, I don't really want to see my city government and my state government suing each other. I don't think that's good use of anyone's time, a good use of anyone's money. So I urge the MTA board, do the right thing for everyone, work with federal partners, make it clear that you have the authority to implement congestion pricing on June 30th as originally planned. Just flip the switch, do it. Thank you very much.
thank you. Have a good day. Liam? Awesome. All right, Liam, take a seat. When you're ready, you can just start. The clock will come up and just please start with your name for the record.
Sure. My name is Liam Jeffries, here with Riders Alliance, but I also do work with Transportation Alternatives. So I am here today as a born and raised New Yorker and lifelong transit user and non-driver to urge the board to listen to the protests of millions of New York residents and implement congestion pricing as we have been promised for years. Before a few weeks ago, we took it as a given that congestion pricing would happen, and that New Yorkers would finally see all the benefits to our transit system and environment that congestion pricing, as shown in numerous cities the world over, would bring. Then everything changed when Governor Hochul tried to stop it at the very last minute for reasons that are just as bewildering and infuriating now as they were then. Let's be clear, this decision was not a democratic one. The vast majority of Manhattan residents and commuters do not drive into Manhattan and instead use the trains and buses that Hochul is now threatening to upend over an unfounded and offensive belief that the wealthy drivers who come into and clog the streets of Manhattan matter more than the transit users and residents who vastly outnumber them. As a Manhattan resident near the 59th Street Bridge, this pause is also personally offensive to me just because of the unsafe street and traffic conditions that congestion pricing promised to alleviate. I can still remember the lessons my parents taught me as a kid to be extremely careful around traffic in our area because of how dangerous it was, and to this day still is. And to this day, the traffic near the 59th Street Bridge is still some of the most dangerous in the city. As such, when Hochul says the conditions of drivers who can afford to drive into Manhattan matter more than the quality of life and safety of the residents they pass, she is saying that the safety of Manhattanites simply do not matter to her, as compared to them. There have been numerous fatal crashes in our area caused by reckless drivers over the years, and Hochul is seemingly trying to make the situation worse through her actions. You as a board have the power to be on the side of reason and to tell the governor that if she thinks she can derail congestion pricing on a whim and consign millions of New Yorkers to worsen transit services and unsafe streets that are entirely preventable, she is wrong. For the sake of New York's future, finish the job and flip the switch. Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. Have a great side. Miriam? Marina, I'm sorry. So yeah, take a seat. When you're ready, you can start with your name for the record and then you'll have 2 minutes. The clock will come up when you start speaking.
Oh, great.
Sorry.
Good afternoon. My name is Marina Metalios. I live in Stuyvesant Town. My zip is 10009, so I am smack in the tolling district. I 100% support it. And I urge you, when I choose to drive into the tolling district, to toll me. Do not cave, do not cave, do not cave. Why do I support congestion pricing? First, most of the people who drive, I believe, choose to drive into the zone. We have abundant public transit options. It's very transit rich in the zone. I think it's the fertile crescent of public transit opportunity. So the people who do drive in, do it as a habit. Do it because it's convenient. Do it as a choice, a choice, a choice, a choice. Second, I support congestion pricing because fewer cars means fewer car crashes. I call them crashes, not accidents, not whoops, I hit you, but crashes. In 1987, my husband was hit by a car. Until that point, he had been an elite amateur marathoner. His personal best was 4th in the Chicago Marathon. The car that crashed into him permanently changed his life. He has permanent mobility disability. For me, fewer cars means fewer car crashes. I also want better public transit for everyone. So for all of the above reasons, and because I want my beloved subway and bus system to improve, I urge you to move on congestion pricing and to toll me when I choose to drive in the district. Toll me, toll me, toll me. Do not cave. Thank you.
Jeremiah? Step right up.
I might go over 2 minutes if
Really,
that'll be a
you
problem.
can give me your written comments and we'll submit them if you go over, but I have to stop you at 2 minutes. I know you've waited a long time, but I have to be consistent. I'm sorry. As soon as you're ready, you can start and the clock will come up.
Esteemed members of the board, we're here today regarding congestion pricing. Now, the governor has been particularly flexible on this subject, but let me show you a possible future where Hochul wins today and delays this plan at a crucial crossroads. After a long time struggling to deal with finances and even having to have the governor call a state of emergency at your agency in 2017, you're forced to delay congestion pricing, which could have given the MTA some money to fight on and improve subway, bus, and other train services. Without finding an alternative, you're forced to shove the expansion to Second Avenue subway, a project that has seen delays and cancellations since it was first proposed in 1920, damning a significant chunk of Manhattanites to overcrowded buses and the Lexington Avenue subway, already squeezed and crowded as it is. Still unable to find more funding out of a possible hostile governor, and given past governor's treatment of this agency, you're further forced to delay or cancel necessary elevator upgrades, denying tons of disabled New Yorkers from accessing your services and relying more on buses having to travel multiple blocks for a subway stop that's an elevator or ramp. Eventually, you'll have to cut back more service and possibly defer maintenance, limiting how long trains and buses can run without risking catastrophic failure. This will inevitably force more people into unnecessarily relying on cars during an age of global warming. I hope that this measure that delays congestion pricing stops. This political tantrum is just that, a tantrum, and you are trapped between two legally binding forces that demand your compliance. Congestion pricing is law. It has been established as this, and you have a legal obligation to implement this policy in 4 days. It must, however, require this board to join those who have silently disagreed and those who have publicly disagreed with the governor's decision, fighting back, making it clear you will not be pushed around. Your city serves millions of New Yorkers. New Yorkers, don't let others belittle them. New Yorkers, fight back. Okay.
Thank you.
Here's my.
All right, have a great day.
fast.
Meryl?
Thanks.
Awesome, take a seat. As soon as you're ready, you can start talking. The clock will come up for you in 2 minutes. And if you could just start with your name for the record.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Meryl Laborde and I live in Brooklyn, New York, 11222. I'm here to ask the MTA board to follow the 2019 law and move forward with the plan to implement congestion pricing on June 30th. Like the majority of New York City residents and people coming into the central business district, I use public transit. Our mass transit system is in desperate need of capital improvements, accessibility upgrades, modern signals, new trains, and faster service. Congestion pricing is a well-crafted plan to raise the desperately needed funds for these projects while improving bus speeds. I also regularly walk and bike. The benefits of congestion pricing go far beyond funding improvements to public transit. Fewer cars in the central business district will give us cleaner air, safer streets, more space for pedestrians, cyclists, bus riders, and the people who do need to use cars. There is no alternative for MTA capital funding that has the additional benefits to street safety, the environment, bus speeds, emergency vehicle response times, the economy, and quality of life. After years of work and hundreds of millions of dollars spent, the governor's choice to indefinitely pause congestion pricing was a slap in the face to New Yorkers, the MTA board, and good governance. This board has a fiduciary duty to follow the law and implement congestion pricing around June 2024 to raise funding for its capital budget. Flip the switch on June 30th.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience. Next up.
Can I ask you a question?
You may.
You said that you'd be able to submit written.
Yes,
comment?
I actually did get that. No one came and gave that to the room?
No, I had some friends who like had to leave or like Zoom, so wanted to know.
Let me have Ms. Emily start and I'll write it down for you. Okay. So yeah, just as soon as you're ready, look at the camera, state your name, the 2-minute clock will come up.
You got it. Hi, my name is Emily Rose Kratz. I am 36. I live in Crown Heights and I've called New York home for nearly 20 years. 20 years is also about as long as many other major cities around the world have had congestion pricing. When New York City is the first in the United States to implement this transformative program, we set the precedent in this country for reducing vehicle miles traveled and investing in public transit. In the US, vehicle emissions are the #1 contributor to climate change, and air quality gets worse every year from wildfires, extreme heat, and other climate change-induced events. In the 20 years I've lived here, I've gone from having mild asthma to last year making multiple ER visits for oxygen and needing daily medication to manage my breathing, all of which has cost me thousands of dollars thus far. So I'd like to know how's that for the governor's affordability concerns, for the health of our city, our state, our country, our world, for resilient, accessible transit, for a more livable city and safer streets. Please flip the switch on congestion pricing and move New York City forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day. Here's the URL and share it widely.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
No worries.
The busy morning. Thank you. Jordan?
Hi.
Great. Have a seat. As soon as you're ready, you can just start.
Okay.
And let's see if the clock will come up. Please do start with your name for the record.
Sure. Hi, my name's Jordan Forrest. I'm from Stamford, Connecticut. I'm here because congestion pricing would have funded improvements to the Metro North New Haven line, which is a service I rely upon both for travel within Connecticut and into New York City and New York State. I work in Portchester. According to the MTA's website, congestion pricing would have provided funding for Park Avenue viaduct replacement, signal and power improvements throughout the system, and Hudson Line electrification. Everyone pays a price for congestion, be it their time if you're a bus rider or a driver, your safety if you're a cyclist, which I've experienced many times in New York, or a monetary price if you're on a peak train on Metro North, you pay additional cost for the ticket. What we're asking is that drivers of private vehicles, the ones who are causing the congestion in Lower Manhattan, pay a financial price for driving in an extremely crowded area so that we can fund better mass transit and get people out of cars and into trains and buses. I have some time left, but I'd like to leave the board with a quote. It's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. I don't envy your position at all, but don't forget what Hochschild did. She made an 11th hour decision. She cut your legs out from under you, putting billions of dollars of funding for mass transit at risk. Don't make this easy for her. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
You too.
All right. Oh, looks like you're not a Sarah, so you must be Stanley.
I am.
Come right up. Stanley, just look at the computer.
Sure.
As soon as you start talking, the clock's gonna come up. Just start with your name for the record.
Okay, sounds good. Hi, my name is Staley Dietrich. I've been a New York City paramedic for more than a decade. I can't tell you how many times I've been at a dead stop in Manhattan traffic, despite having my lights and sirens blaring, and what a distressing feeling that is. The strength of an independent public authority like the MTA is its ability to transcend politics. And so I ask you to do the right thing by the vast majority of New Yorkers like myself who use public transportation, do the right thing by your customers, and do the right thing by people like my patients who are sitting there with chest pain, difficulty breathing, injured, or otherwise, waiting desperately for an ambulance that's stuck in traffic. Make sure that congestion pricing becomes a reality in this city. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Wow, that was a good one.
Jean Marie?
Yes.
How do you spell your first name? I think I have a typo here.
J-E-A-N.
Okay, I do.
And then, yeah.
So
I have a feeling because it was being pronounced in a funny way.
yeah, and it was very busy when you came in. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
got my colleagues.
I think it's been really busy all day, right?
Yeah, so as soon as you're ready, we'll get
Okay.
that computer.
Okay.
The 2-minute clock will come up when you start speaking and just
All right.
start with your name for the record.
Oh, wait, where's the clock?
It'll come up when you.
Oh,
start.
okay,
We're trying to give you the most time.
okay. And where will I see the clock?
It'll just come up on the.
Oh, it'll be on the middle, and then once it starts, I start, okay.
No, once you start, it starts.
Oh, I see. Oh, hello. I'm John Marie Offenbacher, and I am a resident and homeowner in Manhattan. I wanted to address the idea that congestion pricing has been extremely effective in other parts of the world. In Stockholm in 2007, it was implemented against the majority opinion. In fact, I think about 3/4 of Swedish citizens did not want congestion pricing. 2 years later, 3/4 of the citizens demanded that it remain implemented when they allowed them the opportunity to repeal it in a referendum. In London, where I ride bikes regularly, since congestion pricing, it is night and day. It is so much improved, and the air quality is much improved. Like the end of the Industrial Revolution. Okay, traffic is heavier than ever. I've been here since 1980. It's an assault on all these senses. Air quality, the smell and the taste of the air as I'm biking around is unbearable. The noise is dangerous. People honk and honk. There's no, the police do not remediate this bad behavior from drivers. And visually, with the clutter of traffic, especially so many SUVs, it's very, very dangerous. So as a cyclist, I'm incurring much more transportation expenses because I cannot ride my bike often. And as a homeowner, I'm incurring increased expenses in air conditioning because the traffic goes into the night and they're honking and stinking up the air. And it would just be really nice if we if you could represent the the residents of Manhattan, not Stadium Kathy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry, move this down west. All right, maybe a John? No. John, Erickman? Erickson, great. Sorry, mine, I hit refresh and I'm not getting anything back.
Yeah, there should be 3 more there.
So John, you're just coming in, right?
Yeah,
So-
and frankly, if one of them wants to go first.
No, I just want to make sure you guys know what we're doing here, so.
Okay. I would be
Who are the
more than
200
happy to.
people?
Yeah, so we do an hour of public, for
Yeah.
all of you guys who just came in, we do an hour of public comment in front of the board when we have overflow, which today is a record. We take your comment on video and then they're all delivered to the board for their consideration.
Oh, at a later point. Okay. that
Yeah,
makes
well,
sense.
today,
Yeah.
but like,
Yeah,
Terry will be here.
yeah.
Yeah.
Same with our customers on Zoom, like, we had
Yeah.
almost 150 people. come
Okay,
out
I'm
to,
not
like-
going live in the room.
You're not, no. It's as soon as you're ready to start, you'll start talking. My colleague here will put up a 2-minute clock. It's your 2 minutes. We have rules, but we're just kind of letting people go today. The only thing we really ask is that you start with your name for the record.
Okay,
And so when you're ready.
great. Hi, I'm John Erickson from the Effective Transit Alliance. As you all know, transit is a foundation of the New York region. It has been for decades. It's what makes us tick. We are just like every other American city without it. Congestion pricing was passed in 2019 in an urgent environment with the debt service, with the lack of accessibility, with our Second Avenue plans finally coming through fruition. But in many ways, it was an era of business as usual. Now, post-COVID, we're in a profoundly different world. The general trend towards off-peakiness has accelerated. There's far less computing, there's far less working in offices. And I think it's important that we remember that the old world is not coming back. Kathy, in her announcement of the pause, said now is not the right time for congestion pricing, but I think that's exactly backwards. In this new era, the MTA has to adapt to the new realities, and both the major improvements in the capital plan and the lack of congestion as a benefit on its own are more needed than ever. If we do adapt, we can take New York into the 21st century and reimagine the region as a much more livable, prosperous place than ever before. If we don't adapt, we will inevitably end up in a transit death spiral, and everything that we've built for will fall apart. So please, board, never has it been less important than now. We really need to find a way to get to this next step, get the capital plan back on track, get the decongestion back on track, and then together we can boldly step into this brave new era. Thank you.
Thank you. If you want to go watch the proceedings, it's back through that way. Sure. Otherwise, have a great day. Are you Kent?
Yes.
Okay. And then we'll take you, but yeah, I have to input your name. I don't have it listed, so we'll take you last, okay? All right, Kent, did you hear what I said?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So when you're ready, you can just look at the camera and start talking, and you'll have 2 minutes.
Okay.
Please just start with your name.
Hi, my name is Kent Matricardi. Speaking to support congestion pricing. I think it's good policy. It's good for business, good for public health. It's great for tourism. It's good for city finances. It's a win-win-win. It's been implemented successfully in other cities. In London, it received a lot of resistance like it's receiving here, but then they overcame that and it was very successful. They had a removal clause where if people didn't like it, they could, decommission it, and they wanted to keep it because it was good. Personally, for about 30 years, I've been driving into Midtown periodically to do projects. It's necessary. I carry things. And I cannot quantify the amount of time and money I've lost sitting in traffic. When I'd heard about the London plan, I was hoping we'd get it here. It's nearly 20 years later at this point. I think it's a short-term political benefit to say, oh, we're saving you $15. That the $15
is going to be a savings if we can reduce congestion. So that's all. I'd like to encourage you to enact congestion pricing for the betterment of New York City. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
You can have a seat.
Signed up.
That's okay. What's your name?
Mohib.
Oh, I had you earlier, didn't I? Mohib?
Yeah, did you, what was supposed to be called but not called, but,
Okay. It's been a long day, so,
because I've been waiting a while.
So is everybody. I understand. Mohib 0307 at
Yep,
Gmail?
yep.
Okay, great. So you are gonna be our final speaker today.
Okay.
And
Again,
we really do appreciate your patience.
Yeah.
Let's go back up here. So as soon as you are ready, you can start speaking. My colleague will put the clock up for 2 minutes.
I got it.
Just please start with your name for the record.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
When you're ready.
Hello, I'm Muhib and I'm a rising senior at Stuyvesant High School. I'm here to speak in opposition to the resolution before the board today. Oh, indefinitely pause the congestion pricing program at the whims of a governor who has grossly misstepped her legal authority for political purposes and underestimated true New Yorkers who use public transit. Congestion pricing is essential to the future of a green New York and a New York with robust and world-class public transportation infrastructure. The program will pay for the installation of elevators and ramps at hundreds of stations to ensure that those with disabilities can access their transportation as required by the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990, upgrade signaling to communications-based train control to enable faster, more reliable, more frequent service on lines that have fixed block signals dating to before the Great Depression, including along the F line, which are relied upon on a daily basis, system modernization in general, so that our system remains top-notch, system expansion that relies on federal funds, such as the Interborough Express and the Second Avenue Subway, and a greener future in general. Congestion pricing will substantially reduce automobile congestion in the city, improve air quality, decrease noise pollution, and contribute to substantial quality of life improvement. Congestion pricing is a tax on the wealthy commutes of central business district by automobile, not the working class who uses public transit. Congestion pricing will also encourage the use of more space efficient and greener public transportation rather than automobiles. If London, Singapore, and Stockholm can do it, why can't we? With that said, flip the switch, implement congestion pricing now. Thank you.
Okay, I'm good. Hello, everyone. Thank you for hopping on to our remote overflow session here. Just a reminder that each person will be given 2 minutes to speak. We're going to continue the public comment session. These comments will be at the end of the YouTube video live stream that comes out with this board. With the board video, so everybody's comments will be on the record, will be recorded. And there will be a warning beep with 30 seconds for you to begin to conclude your remarks. And then at the 2 minutes, you will be asked to conclude and we'll move on to the next speaker. So we are going to start off with Aditya Mukherjee and then Alex Matheson.
Hi, thank you, everyone. My name is Aditya, and I am a third-generation New Yorker and a resident of the CBD. I've previously testified about the importance of congestion pricing, so I'm not going to spend my time rehashing those arguments. I have something different to share with everyone today. Yesterday was the 1-year anniversary of Dick Ravitch's death. As many of you may know, Mr. Ravitch was known for saving the MTA during the crisis of the early 80s. According to Governor Hochul, his last conversation with her was about congestion pricing, urging her to see it through. While Governor Hochul may have abandoned the promise that she made to a devoted public servant on his deathbed, the MTA board acts independently of the governor. The Public Authorities Reform Act was created to give the MTA board independence. To quote Richard Brodsky, one of its authors, it exists in order to make it absolutely clear as a matter of law that the transportation policies of the MTA are to be set by the board, not by elected officials. As MTA board members, you all have a fiduciary duty to the agency and to its riders. There is no way to square that duty with a voluntary decision to delay congestion pricing at this point. It would jeopardize over $15 billion in capital programs, including a federal court settlement over legally required ADA upgrades. It would risk a death spiral and threaten the existence and future of the MTA and New York Public Transit itself. Legally, the MTA may not be able to proceed without a signature from the state DOT on the VPPP document. But that does not mean that you have to give the governor cover. Governor Hochul made this mess, and you have no obligation to help her sweep it under the rug. I urge you not to vote to delay the congestion pricing program at all. I urge you not to vote to authorize any service cuts or capital program reductions. If the June 30th deadline passes, it needs to be clear that Governor Hochul is acting without the backing of the MTA board and that she is the sole party responsible and liable for that disaster. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker will be Alex Matheson, followed by Joshua Goodman.
Good morning. My name is Alex Matheson. I am the founder and director of the Move New York Congestion Pricing Campaign. I won't elaborate on the numerous reasons why every New Yorker, even those who are opposed to it, will benefit enormously from congestion pricing, from more reliable and accessible transit to less traffic, faster commutes, and better air quality to over 100,000 jobs from Utica to Yonkers. Instead, I'd like, on behalf of the millions of New Yorkers who understand just how critical congestion pricing is to the future of our great city, state, and region, to use my limited time to simply thank you and your staff, Chairman Lieber, for getting us to this point. I'd also like to thank the MTA's Board of Directors for having nearly unanimously voted in favor of congestion pricing and for continuing to speak out in support of this common sense and highly progressive program. To be clear, there is simply no replacement funding or program for congestion pricing. Anyone who's being honest knows this. The rest, I guess, are acting out of pure self-interest and short-sightedness. This starts, sadly, with our governor, Kathy Hochul, who was the program's biggest champion until she panicked and pulled the plug on congestion pricing, likely breaking up to 5 or more New York laws to do it. The world is watching to see what we New Yorkers do in the coming weeks and months as we work together to put congestion pricing back on track. None more so than the dozen other US cities which are contemplating their own versions of congestion pricing until Hochul stunned the world with her abrupt about face. Yet we are confident that our heroes in the New York State Legislature will not back down and settle for some new source of revenue to fund the rest of the 2020-24 capital plan that would either deprive other important state programs and their constituents of critical funding or is needed for the MTA to finance its next 2025-29 capital plan. Nor will our allies in the New York State Legislature settle for any new revenue source that does not deliver on the myriad public benefits beyond funding of congestion pricing. Let's face it, the governor can look until she's blue in the face, but she's not going to find a legitimate replacement for congestion pricing. Courage and conviction and standing up for what is right and for what so many of us worked for many years to bring about. I urge each of you to hold strong to your ideals and uphold your fiduciary and legal responsibilities to protect the state's most important trillion-dollar asset and defend the laws of New York. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker will be Joshua Goodman, followed by Joe Kunzler. Our next speaker, it looks like Mr. Goodman is gone, so our next speaker will be Joe Kunzman. Joe Kunzler. Also, if you want to submit a written comment to the board, please visit contact.mta.info/s/forms/mta-org. So Joe Kunzler will be our next speaker. Okay, he is not here. So our next speaker will be Miriam Fisher, followed by Tristan Haas.
Both ask and answer the question.
Miriam, are you speaking?
Yes, can you hear me?
Now we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I'm Miriam Fisher, both a transportation and disability rights activist. Congestion pricing, no holds on making subway stations accessible. Violates the legal 2020 agreement with the MTA making subways accessible for all riders. I also speak as a longtime advocate of reduced traffic for environmental, health, and safety reasons. I was hit by a yellow cab in 1984 in a coma for 9 days. My life has been defined by multiple and unsuccessful back surgeries subsequent to this. We have models of success in other cities, despite what Governor Hochul says, London, Stockholm, Milan. Should the MTA please sign the elevator maintenance lawsuit so that people with disabilities and no other choices of transportation don't get stranded? Demetrius Critchlow, now interim MTA president, and I quote his statistics, previously testified that 88% of elevators are in service on a given day, 12% of elevators are out, and most are privately owned, maintained. I heard the many welcomes Monday and add another. Thank you for listening. Miriam Fisher.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker will be Eric Alexander.
Hello, my name is Eric Alexander. I'm the director of Vision Long Island and the founder of Long Island Main Street Alliance, representing 45 downtowns on Long Island. We've lobbied for state and federal funds for the MTA for decades, and we support a full capital program. With that said, we do support Governor Hochul's pause and possible rethink of congestion pricing. Look, out here, inflation's real, economic pain in the middle class and working class is real. Our small businesses that we talk to are very concerned about deliveries and cost increases associated with that. 3-1, by a 3-1 margin, folks on Long Island oppose this policy. What we read in the polls, it's 60-40 against in New York City. So, this plan was done in a top-down manner with not meaningful outreach done, at least here on Long Island, right? That's what we can speak to. We don't know of any chamber civic or municipality or even regional organizations on Long Island, other than our friends at the PCAC and representing the Communities Council, that support this plan. So we'd support a rethink. Even one of our biggest regional thinkers, Scott Reckler, went out and supports this pause. Let's go back to 2007, when it was a great proposal by Bloomberg's administration to lower the tolls, really create a Long Island lockbox for dedicated transportation funds and needs. That plan was built up from the local community, and that's really the kind of thing we want to see and support. So if this thing is about congestion, hey, limit the Uber and Lyft riders that were coming in. That was social engineering gone wrong. If it's about dollars, fix the fare evasion to $700 million a year. Then lower the tolls, lower these congestion pricing tolls with what's left of the 300 million or 500 million, whatever's left to fill that capital plan gap. For Long Islanders, we give $30 billion to the state and federal government, more than we get back. So it's not about us out here. Point is really, let's rethink this properly and get funding to the MTA and fund that capital plan as it should be, but work with people, have the public with us. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. I would just like to remind folks to make sure that their Zoom name is the same name that they registered with. So if you have a phone number or an email address, please change that to your name that you registered with. Okay, our next speaker will be Jackson Chabot, followed by Andy Pollock.
Good morning, Good morning, everyone. My name is Jackson Chabot. I'm the Director of Advocacy and Organizing at Open Plans, a nonprofit in New York City. I'm also a Brooklyn resident, and I commute every day either by the subway or via city bike into our office by Canal and Broadway in the Zone. It's an incredibly unpleasant experience as it is, and my wife consistently takes the 2-3 train versus the Q train because of how unreliable the signals are on the line. So not only do we have issues with the subway that we need funded, we also need less congestion in the Zone. If you've ever been by Canal and Broadway, you'll understand that you get out of the subway at Canal Street, you look around, and all you hear are honking vehicles. All you see are people blocking the box. And so we need desperately to implement congestion pricing on June 30th without delay. I urge the board members to look deep within their hearts to think of the mother that lost her life falling down the stairs a couple of years ago, simply taking her child down the stairs. Why? Because there was not an elevator. To think of the person in the wheelchair that simply wants to get to their station and get to work. Why? Because there's not an elevator. We need the money for the MTA. We need less congestion in Manhattan. We need it now. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker will be Andy Pollock. Okay, Andy is not in the room with us. So our next speaker will be Jessica Walker, followed by Eric McClure.
Yeah.
Good morning. I'm Jessica Walker, the president and CEO of the Manhattan Chamber of Commerce. We represent the 129,000 businesses throughout the borough of Manhattan, which is New York's economic center. Before COVID, our organization was a staunch supporter of congestion pricing for the promise it holds to reduce traffic gridlock and fund transit improvements, both of which are good for residents, businesses, and the broad growth of our economy. We continue to support this policy in principle, but we now have serious concerns about the timing of its implementation. And we support a pause to either identify more workable options or to ensure that the current plan will not be overly burdensome. While the local economy is strong, parts of New York City continue to face some headwinds to getting back to where we were before the pandemic began. Manhattan's central business district, which is the focal point for congestion pricing, was particularly hard hit during the pandemic and continues to feel its effects. The tourists and office workers that businesses here rely upon for foot traffic, customers, and vibrancy continue to fall short. Storefront vacancies remain high, particularly in Manhattan. Many small businesses have taken on significant debt to get them through. They are facing high rates of retail theft, which pulls from their bottom lines. And because of inflation, they are paying higher prices for goods in our already expensive city. These businesses need breathing room to see revenue growth and regain stability. Implementing congestion pricing at the wrong time, before our businesses and residents can withstand such a toll, will undermine our economic recovery. As such, we urge the board to adopt today's resolution for a delay. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker is Eric McClure, followed by Erica Burson.
Good morning, Chair Lieber and members of the board. My name is Eric McClure. I'm the Executive Director of Streets PAC, a political action committee and advocacy organization. We all know that Governor Hochul has put this board in a difficult spot, but as board members, you have a fiduciary responsibility to the MTA, as well as a moral obligation to the millions of riders who depend on a functioning transit system every single day. There is no viable alternative to fill the $15 billion hole that Governor Hochul has blown into the capital budget. And even if there were, no other funding stream would do anything to address the crippling congestion that costs the region's economy more than $9 billion annually, according to the report released yesterday by INRIX, the worst figure for any city in the world. Nor is there an alternate revenue source that will improve environmental conditions, lower emissions, and lead to better health outcomes. Only congestion pricing can do all those things, and it is the law of New York State. The governor cannot rule by fiat or pick and choose which laws to implement. We urge you in no uncertain terms to vote today against the resolution that seeks to ratify the governor's pause and to move to implement the Central Business District tolling program on June 30th as planned. You have the opportunity to be heroes to strap hangers and heroes to progress. The MTA's future, the city's future, depends on it. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker will be Erica Burson, followed by Joaquin Efforts.
Thank you. I want to thank Governor Hochul for stopping this regressive tax on our communities. I live just above the proposed tolling area, and I'm one of the people living with a disability that my electeds, including Nadler, Kruger, Lander, and Levine, use as a crutch in their messaging. I have multiple sclerosis and I'm a single income earner with a small woman-owned business. I don't own a car, but I rely on them to get around the city. On any given day of the week or time of day, it's always faster, and I have the receipts to support this, to get into a taxi, sometimes by double, than using mass transit, which is difficult for me to do living with MS. Those of us who oppose this tax begged you to work with us. We proposed many viable options that wouldn't harm working class New Yorkers and especially people living in Manhattan. I went to all of the MTA board meetings and several city council meetings. The MTA literally said on the record the system would be fully accessible by 2055, 65 years after the passing of the ADA. The MTA already receives money from all over. To what end? Our needs were dismissed or ignored entirely, and this is the results. Having to pay a toll to go from 61st to 59th Street is absolutely ridiculous. I'm a third-generation native Manhattanite. I want to have a world-class home, including transit, but this isn't the way forward. I urge the board to support the pause. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker is Joaquin Efforts. Okay, Joaquin is not with us in the room. Our next speaker is Philip Papaelius. They are not with us either. Our next registered speaker is Kyle O'Hara.
Good morning, board members of the MTA. As a Long Islander by birth, I have witnessed firsthand the effects of autocentric planning policies as proposed by state officials over the course of the past century. Throughout my training as a historian, I understand now how wide-reaching effects one person can have at shaping generation of transportation policy. At this moment, we stand at the precipice of correcting historical, autocentric policies through the implementation of a more transit-friendly central business district tolling program, hereon known as congestion pricing. However, the governor's recent indefinite suspension of the policy not only endangers the funding for the MTA's capital plan, but also has earth-shattering ramifications for the rest of the state. The governor's actions draw parallels to policies as promoted by individuals such as Robert Moses. His actions, notably through the construction of many outer borough and metro area parkways, set the precedent that New Yorkers are meant to drive. These policies, in turn, have led to the abysmal traffic that we currently face today. As such, I wish not only to emphasize the contemporary importance of congestion pricing, but also to urge the MTA board to continue the implementation of the tolling program as per the mandate of the state legislature. We must not remain stuck in the individualistic, election-beholden planning of the 20th century as represented by the decisions of the governor, but instead focus on long-term transit policies that help the masses. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle, for your remarks. Our next registered speaker is Susan Teal.
I'm Susan Peel, speaking on behalf of Protect the Highlands. My comment is about the climate resilience roadmap and our concerns that private interests might interfere with its implementation. First, I want to thank the MTA for addressing the issue of climate change. The Metro North Railroad is a vital system for our town, Phillipstown, and our village, Cold Spring. Not only does Metro North provide transportation, it also serves as an economic engine, bringing urban dollars to our rural communities. MTA Chair and CEO Jano Lieber has said that transit is the antidote to climate change, and that this visionary resiliency plan is designed to ensure reliability and safety for years to come, with cost estimated as high as $6 billion. We at Protect the Highlands applaud this foresight. To that end, we are seriously concerned that an ill-conceived pedestrian amusement park being proposed to run along and in the Hudson River, adjacent to the Hudson Line tracks, may well compromise and even jeopardize the resiliency plan, our transit system, and therefore our community's well-being. The Fjord Trail, as the private investor is calling it, will result in wilded state land being developed, managed, and monetized by private hands to attract hundreds of thousands of people. Construction is slated to span the next decade, involving access to the river and access over the tracks. Once completed, the Fjord Trail will require regular maintenance, all of which could be at odds with MTA's unfettered access to achieve its resiliency plan. Local tracks flooded twice last year. Hurricane Sandy and Irene inundated the tracks and surrounding lands. This will only get worse. When weighing the needs of transit for upstate communities with an ill-conceived trail, we encourage the MTA to place its asset and our needs above those of short-sighted developers such as the Fjord Trail backers. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next registered speaker is Michelle Coppersmith.
Good morning. My name is Michelle Cooper-Smith. I'm a Lower East Side resident and I'm a member of Community Board 3, but I'm here to speak in my own personal capacity. I mentioned my community board involvement because we've been told over and over that the only thing that will fix our traffic conditions on the Lower East Side near the Williamsburg Bridge, which has become a viaduct for out of our neighborhood cars to get to the bridge, is congestion pricing. For those of us in the congestion zone, it's not just about money for the MTA, it's about fighting for our safety and daily quality of life. Most CBD districts have very few commuters driving to them. CD3, my district, has basically all of them. You need to disincentivize people coming into our district and driving and literally running over people. On Valentine's Day this year, my neighbor was run over on the corner of East Broadway and Clinton because of the congestion there, and her dog ran away. There will be blood on your hands. The governor, every other person who does not support congestion pricing, the blood is on your hands the next time that someone gets hurt in my neighborhood because you refuse to do the right thing. So all I can ask is that the MTA board not ratify the resolution acknowledging the pause and do the right thing for the people who actually live in New York City and make congestion pricing happen now. We need it. We are literally dying and getting run over. Please take that home to you and think about what it means for the people that live here. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next registered speaker is Tracy Niporent.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm a New York City boy, born and bred. I grew up in Peter Cooper and Stuyvesant Town. I've worked in Tribeca for over 30 years. In the interest of true accuracy, I now live in Bergen County and I commute from there. But I've driven and I've taken transit in every part of this city for over 40 years. There's congestion everywhere in New York City, not just below 60th Street in Manhattan. And we deserve good air everywhere in every borough, not just in that zone below 60th Street. So this idea that all the solutions are to impose congestion pricing in that area is really just not very effective. MTA improvements are going to impact commuters in all 5 boroughs, and everyone in all 5 boroughs should have some skin in the game and help fund the improvements. Now, there's a lot of bridges that have no tolls. The $15 charge is draconian, but a $2.90 charge, like the cost of a subway token, throughout the city in different areas, is more manageable. And in that way, everybody is contributing to a benefit that they will all receive. It doesn't just fall on the area, that one area below 60th Street in Manhattan. So we all have something to say about how funding goes forward. There's not just one way to solve this problem. And, you know, I have a letter in today's New York Daily News. I urge everybody to read it, please. It's time for more creative thinking, not finger pointing and political posturing. There are other ways to fund this thing, not just $15 and all the other things that have been proposed. This idea that there's only one way to do this, it's just not true. So let's all work together and get the funding that's necessary and be equitable and fair. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next registered speaker is Sheila Rauch. Okay, they are not in the room. Our next registered speaker is Justin Ballack. Okay, he is no longer in the room. Our next registered speaker after that is Arnold Loud.
Okay, I'm gonna leave right here. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Arnold Loud. I'm the president of Riders Alliance. Glad to be here. Was supposed to last night working. We want to vote, obviously. So for me, taking Zesta ride got me delays, and also I'm a person with disability, so sorry for my fault. So we need to fight bad traffic because we need advocacy in the train system. So what if someday the train that messed up, as a ride that messed up, increase traffic? So customer service, boom, off the road. So for congestion pricing, we need to increase better services. I live with my mom. She's trying to independent for IDP to cross the road. She's not paying my mom $15 one way, or this stuff. I live in Queens. So for the drivers have been nasty during the road. So we need a lot. It's time for me. It's time to do congestion pricing now, because that way we can get to places faster and be as per the good. So Great MTA is very frustrating as a point right now. I personally take the Long Island Road, and I don't take the subway and the bus predominantly. So I'm always rely on Zesta Ride and Long Island Road because they're getting really good service as of today. So that's it.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker is Sheila Rauch. Oh, apologies. Okay, that was our next registered speaker. Our next registered speaker after that is, let me take a look. Sorry, Jesse Figueroa. Okay, they are not in our room right now, so we will move on. Our next registered speaker is Anthony Phillips.
Good morning to everyone here. So I'm speaking today to give my support for congestion pricing. As a Brooklyn resident, I ride the buses and subways every day into the city. Although the current service levels are acceptable right now, it can still be like so much better. Congestion pricing is vital to improving and expanding and creating a better environment for the city. And please do not back down to Governor Hochul's pause, as this will put important projects like increased accessibility for the ADA, improved CBTC signaling, expansions like the Second Avenue Subway Phase 2, and Interborough Express, electric buses, new trains, and so on. Abiding by Governor Hochul's pause on congestion pricing will jeopardize all these very important projects and will most likely lead to an even larger issues on the long term. I do not want the subway and buses to fall into a state of emergency again, like in 2017 or 2018. New Yorkers need a better subway. New Yorker needs a better bus system, and most importantly, a city and transit agency that supports their hardworking New Yorkers every day who rely on transit. Please push for congestion pricing on behalf of all of us. Thank you for letting me speak today and for listening.
Thank you, Anthony. Our next registered speaker is Alex Moreno.
Hi, good morning. My name's Alex Morano, and I'm here as a resident of Brooklyn. There have been a lot of comments this morning about the MTA's fiduciary responsibility, about the benefits of the program, about the irresponsibility on behalf, on the part of the governor to try and unilaterally pause the program, which is a law. And I want to align myself with all of those comments and support June 30th start date for congestion pricing. But I also want to speak to, how this policy affects me personally and remind the board that their decision actually has, a significant real world effect on New Yorkers. Earlier this year, my partner of 5 years was diagnosed with cancer, which has required us to make daily trips for months to Memorial Sloan Kettering in the congestion pricing zone. And these, we don't have a private vehicle, so these trips happen on the subway when we're able to do them on the subway, and otherwise they happen via for-hire vehicle. And this winds up being a nightmare because the traffic is so bad, the congestion is so bad that the for-hire vehicle costs are incredibly high, and it's not a reliable way to get around because it's too slow and you don't know how long your trip's going to take. It could be 45 minutes, it could be an hour and a half, it could be 2 hours. So all of the funding and fiduciary aspects aside, we need real solutions that help with congestion because vulnerable populations really suffer under the current conditions.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next registered speaker is Linda Baran.
Good morning. My name is Linda Barron. I'm the president of the Staten Island Chamber of Commerce. The Staten Island Chamber of Commerce is pleased that Governor Hochul has heard the concerns of small businesses and hardworking New Yorkers and indefinitely delayed the implementation of congestion pricing. If the purpose of congestion pricing is to get cars off the road and to encourage travel by alternative means, there needs to be true investment in providing alternative transit options before such a plan can be put in place. While we recognize the years of effort that went into this plan, at the end of the day, this plan is more about finding more money for the MTA and less about reducing congestion and improving our environment, especially in our borough. We've testified, we've sent letters, we've had meetings, we've expressed our concerns numerous times, and they have seemed to fall on deaf ears. We will see increased truck traffic that will intensify emissions and affect our air quality here on Staten Island. And yes, we are a car-dependent borough, not because we want to be, because we have to be. We have limited transit options, and there's not much to disincentivize people from driving on Staten Island. With no direct connection to New York City subway system, yes, we have the SIRT, but it only goes from the North Shore to the South Shore of Staten Island. It doesn't connect directly with Manhattan. We will continue to pay for express bus services. Everybody else can get in for the price of a subway. We have to take express buses, which comes out to about $14 a day. And we have some of the longest commutes in the country. And Staten Island businesses doing business here, entering Manhattan will continue to be at a competitive disadvantage when you can enter Manhattan and not pay for East River bridges. Benefits for underserved areas like Staten Island must be part of the equation. Currently the MTA receives dedicated revenue streams from several different taxes, payroll mobility tax, petroleum tax, sales tax, corporate franchise tax, et cetera. I could go on and on. I think one thing that the board should consider is simplifying and streamlining the revenue streams so that business and residents
Please
know
conclude your
exactly
remarks.
how much they pay for. The last thing I wanted to say is that businesses here on Staten Island throughout the city are citing that inflation is a #1 issue. This is not the time to pass this type of.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next registered speaker is Lucy Coteen.
Greetings. My name is Lucy Coteen. I live in Brooklyn. Like the vast majority of people in the New York area, I was relieved and thankful when the governor paused the ill-conceived congestion pricing tax plan. It is a plan harmful to the city and the state. It would reduce the tax base for the city, as many people realize they have options not to enter the CBD for jobs and entertainment. Yes, there are restaurants and entertainment outside the CBD. Yes, many people can work from home. Those who cannot constitute the important workforce of the city. The police, the firefighters, hospital workers, electricians, carpenters, plumbers. There are workforce job shortages everywhere, and they could easily change their job location. It is obvious that plan would hurt small businesses, the return of office workers, Broadway restaurants, Chinatown, Little Italy, all still recovering from the pandemic. The truck tax will increase the cost of every item that enters by track, impacting everyone. This was not about congestion, as there is no congestion at 2 in the morning. There is no congestion created by those who just happen to live in the CBD and are just traveling to go home. There is, however, a problem created by the unlimited for-hire taxis such as Lyft and Uber. Pollution will not go away. It will just increase in the surrounding areas, the Lower East Side, the Bronx, and above 60th Street, parts of Brooklyn and Queens. The MTA needs to reduce their own bloated spending before another tax is imposed. The massive overtime of employees, the massive over budget on projects, the inefficient maintenance all need to be reduced. They received federal grants of $20 billion. What happened to that money? The MTA needs oversight. We already pay many taxes to the MTA. As for raising more money, there are many viable suggestions that have been offered that do not hurt the working man and woman. The MTA should seek out those suggestions.
Please conclude your remarks.
My own favorite is a small tax on stock transactions. Around $300 billion a day are transacted, and a tiny dollar amount could bring millions of dollars a day to the MTA.
Thank you. Thank you for your remarks. Our next registered speaker is Evan Bowens.
Yes.
Whenever you're ready.
Good morning, honorable meeting. My name is Evan, and I'm here from Massachusetts to speak my support for the congestion pricing, for the governor is trying to illegally cancel it to screw over the many in the name of a few. I would like to warn you from experience that allowing the congestion pricing to be canceled will cause a terrible fate to befall the MTA, and then it's only a matter of time before an old subway train kills a passenger in its doors at Broadway Station. It's a very serious issue at stake, and I speak in absolutes. All of the MTA's planned improvements, such as accessibility renovations, signal upgrades, and finishing the 2nd Avenue Subway Phase 2, are meant to be funded by the congestion pricing, and there is no substitute for that anywhere in sight. If you cancel the congestion pricing, the MTA will be without its most important source of money, and millions of New York subway riders will suffer to appease only a few greedy rich drivers from outside the affected area. The MTA has already planned to use the congestion pricing money. It is written in law, and there is no provision in the law for the governor to randomly call the whole thing off. It is your obligation to just ignore her and move forward with implementing the congestion pricing. Please, heed my warning, and do not repeat in your state the mistake of mine. In 1998, the Massachusetts government took away a major funding subsidy for the MBTA, and then burdened the agency with a highway tunnel's construction debt. Now, the trains in Boston have had for many years an infamous reputation for being slow and unreliable because the MBTA has no money for basic rolling stock maintenance. As someone whose own cash-strapped transit network has so fallen from grace, I sincerely do not want the MTA to end up in the same embarrassing condition as the MBTA because the congestion pricing got cancelled. Please, do not let the governor cancel the congestion pricing, and thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next registered speaker is Austin Preferred. Austin, the floor is yours. Okay, we will go to our next registered speaker. Our next registered speaker is Justine Cuccia. Justine is not with us in the room. Our next registered speaker is April Green.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Thank you to all the experts and leaders who've spoken about the benefits of congestion pricing this morning. I'm just a Brooklyn mom. I'm a transit writer. I'm a person who wants to survive climate change, and I would like to live and enjoy a livable city while I do so. 20 years ago, I was out in the streets with transportation alternatives, canvassing for congestion pricing, and it seemed like it would never happen until this spring. It really seemed like a reality. I was elated and then totally crushed when Governor Hochul attempted to stop it. I can only hope that a more visionary leader will let it happen, and sooner rather than later. The big picture to me, I know there are winners and losers as we perceive them in all kinds of programs that we do and any planning that gets done. Not everyone will be happy, and I really sympathize with the people who have a personal hardship with congestion pricing. But the big picture is this: as humans, we have overstepped our ability to live on our planet without destroying it, and we all need to scale back our me first habits. It's just that's what's happening right now, whether we like it or not. To me, congestion pricing is like the smoking ban. No one wants to change it at first. Remember the hues and cries about the smoking ban? But when we push forward, the complaints soon wear off. We develop new routines, and everyone is happier with the results. How many smokers do you know who love the smoking ban? I know many. We're not fossils. We can change, and we need to change. Love New York. Love the MTA. Start congestion pricing on June 30th.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next registered speaker is Paul Friedman. Okay, Paul is not with us. Our next registered speaker is Seth Finkelstein. Okay. Seth is not with us either. Okay, folks, that concludes our, please raise your hand if you had registered to speak and were not able to. So we can record your remarks. I'll give folks 30 seconds to do that. So we have 3 remaining speakers. First, we will go with Kyle Strober, followed by Jonathan Schneider, followed by Toby Pinot, who will be our final speaker for the day.
Good morning from Long Island. My name is Kyle Strober. I serve as the executive director of the Association for Better Long Island. We're an economic development advocacy organization for the region of approximately 3 million residents. You know, after listening to all the testimony so far, it's something that I think is important to remind folks that despite us not living in New York City, we do consider ourselves New Yorkers as well. And as New Yorkers, we support Governor Hochul's pause on congestion pricing. There is little doubt that the MTA needs to fund a robust capital improvement plan. It needs to be, but it must not be achieved by driving residents, businesses, and workers out of the city. It also must not be achieved by taxing Long Island residents and businesses that have no other choice but to drive into Manhattan. It's also what was noted before, but it should be reiterated, that there is no elected officials that I'm aware of that support congestion pricing, nor business or civic associations here on the island. We believe this pause will allow time to consider a more thoughtful solution to address Manhattan's traffic woes, the MTA's capital priorities, and the need to protect the wallets of those who drive into Manhattan. I thank you for your time, and have a good afternoon.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker will be Jonathan Schneider, and then our final speaker over Zoom will be Toby Pinot.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Good morning, members of the MTA board. My name is Jonathan Schneider. I'm one of your direct constituents living in Brooklyn. I'm here to ask you to support congestion pricing. I'm a professional engineer in New York. I co-authored the American Society of Civil Engineers Infrastructure Report Card for the state, and I own a car. I want to take the subway badly, but the economics don't always work out. I need you to make me choose to walk, bike, ferry, or subway into New York City by charging me what the walkers, bikers, and subways deserve in public infrastructure improvements. Pricing schemes like the one proposed have been proven in cities around the world and in the United States. New York may be the first central business toll, but this is not the first demand flattening toll. Look at the Intercounty Connector in Maryland or the I-95 express toll lanes along the same road. Certain airports have developed mathematical models that show people would opt for public transit instead of driving when offered benefits such as priority screening and pre-ticket baggage checking. The most amazing part of these models is that they were put to the test and they really worked. People switched to public transportation. I started my career excited to see 2 new tunnels add capacity and maintenance opportunities beneath the Hudson River. The then governor of New Jersey single-handedly quashed the access to the region's core project. This moment feels similar. There are 5 points I'd like to make before I wrap up. 1, bringing a family into the city for a leisure day from New Jersey or Long Island should still be less expensive by car, even with congestion pricing. 2, I don't think the suggested scheme is fair to everyone. If there is a pause, please set a deadline and incorporate regional benefits that directly help MJ Transit in outer boroughs such as Staten Island. 3, get ahead of electric vehicles. I expect car companies to greenwash advertisements getting people to switch. You need congestion pricing now to reduce the number of trips. In terms of demand, we ain't seen nothing yet. 4, we need provisions to keep people safe when demand decreases and speed increases. 5, although a single trip into New York will be more expensive, with less traffic on the roads, our businesses will get more done and serve more customers. Congestion pricing will be a net benefit to our TLC drivers, paratransit users, and businesses. Now it's up to you. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. Our final speaker today over Zoom is Toby Pannone.
Good morning. Thank you so much for providing me the time to speak, and I'm honored to cap off this Zoom public comment section as a lifelong New Yorker who is strongly in favor of congestion pricing starting on June 30th. I could continue to give the points that so many of my fellow New Yorkers have given, from the board's fiduciary responsibility to the importance of reducing congestion for safety and climate and for the improvement of subway, Metro North, and Long Island Railroad services. But instead, I would like to point out that the new generation of New Yorkers, people in my generation and below, are choosing not to drive more than ever before. When I was in high school, surrounded by peers of my age, who were all of driving age, our homeroom teacher asked the room of 20 of us how many of us had a driver's license. Only 1 student raised his hand. That includes students from every single borough, including Staten Island, who relied upon public transportation to attend our school. New York as a city, New York as a new population relies upon the subways, the buses, Metro North, Long Island Railroad. Everything is key to us, and it will become so much more key as we move into the future as New Yorkers without cars who rely upon the subway and who rely on the accessibility, the capacity, and the coverage improvements that have been put forth. So one more time as we end off this meeting, I implore the MTA board to move ahead with congestion pricing starting on June 30th and to stick with their responsibility to act independently in the best interest of the agency and in the best interest of the public. Thank you so much and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you all for your remarks. As a reminder, they will be submitted at the end of the MTA's board meeting live stream YouTube video over the next few days. Thank you all for your remarks and have a great day.